So, back in November of 2025, Google dropped a new AI coding tool that sent these massive shockwaves all through the developer world. And this wasn't just some minor update either. It was a totally new way of thinking about how we built software. Today, we're breaking down Google Antigravity. Okay, let's just dive right in. This quote pretty much says it all, right? It felt like Google had literally dropped a nuke on the market for AI development tools. The buzz was immediate, and for good reason. It was seen as this huge threat to every other tool out there. Because anti-gravity wasn't just a step forward, it was a giant leap.
And look, we're not just talking about a better autocomplete here. The whole pitch, the marketing, the philosophy behind it, it was all positioned as this fundamental shift in how we actually write code, a new dawn for real.
So what was the big idea? Well, it all comes down to this concept you see on the screen, agentic development. This isn't about AI being your helpful little co-pilot anymore. No, this is a whole paradigm shift. The AI becomes the primary developer, and the human becomes more like a manager or an architect, guiding the AI agents. So let's get into what anti-gravity actually promised to do. Why did it get everybody so incredibly excited? Well, it's because the workflow it introduced feels like something straight out of science fiction. At the very heart of the whole system is this thing called the Agent Manager. Think of it like a separate window, your command center. It completely flips the script on how you interact with your work. It's basically mission control for your own personal AI workforce. And this is where you really start to see the power. Instead of you grinding away at one problem at a time, you can just launch multiple AI agents to work on different bugs or build out different features all at the same time, in parallel. One single developer can suddenly manage a whole team's worth of complex tasks. Now, you might be thinking, how do you even trust this thing to not go rogue? Well, to build that trust, the agents don't just work in some mysterious black box. They create these things called artifacts that you can check. They show you their whole plan, the steps they took, the code they changed, and even a recording of them testing it to prove it works. So here's the thing. When anti-gravity is on its game, the results are they're stunning. This user review says it all. They asked it to build a whole game clone, and it nailed it on the first try. And get this, it didn't just write the code, it created the art assets from scratch. Just incredible. Okay, so that's the dream, right? But now we have to talk about the reality of using it day to day. And for a lot of people, the experience has been, well, let's just say it's been pretty frustrating and doesn't quite live up to that amazing potential. And this slide just perfectly sums up that frustration. On one hand, you have this revolutionary AI engine that can build a video game for you. But on the other hand, it's trapped inside an editor where the arrow keys don't even work right. It feels like you have a super genius AI stuck inside an unstable prototype. So when you lay it all out, the trade-offs are pretty stark, aren't they? You get access to this unbelievably powerful next-gen AI for free, but the cost is very real. You're paying for it with battery life, stability, performance, and just a plain buggy experience. But, bugs and lag, you can live with that. The real problems, the hidden dangers, they go a lot deeper. As researchers really started to poke around, they found some serious fundamental risks that we really need to talk about. A security firm called MindGuard started digging, and what they found was a massive vulnerability. They gave it a pretty cool name, forced descent. And the way it works is, well, it's deceptively simple and honestly kind of scary. So let me break this down, because it's important. All it takes is one single innocent-looking interaction with a bad project. You just say, hi, to the agent. That's it. A hidden rule then tells the AI to install a malicious file, and boom, your application is permanently backdoored. It works even with max security settings on, and it survives a complete reinstall. And here is the truly wild part. According to the researchers, when they told Google about this critical flaw, Google's response was basically to close the ticket. They classified it as intended behavior. So the vulnerability was just left there, unpatched, with MindGuard warning everyone to be careful. Okay, so security risks are one thing, but there's another, maybe even deeper risk we need to talk about. What happens to us, to our own brains, when we start to lean this heavily on AI to do our thinking for us? Researchers at MIT call it cognitive debt. And just
Just look at this data from that MIT study. It's staggering. A full 83% of people who used AI to help them write couldn't even accurately remember the sentences they had just written. It suggests we're not internalizing information anymore. We're just becoming couriers, passing data through our brains without actually learning it.
So, where does that leave us? You've got this amazing, powerful tool on one side, and some really serious dangers on the other. What's the right move here? How should we really be thinking about tools like anti-gravity? Well, the consensus from pretty much everyone who's looked at this seriously, security experts, senior developers, is pretty clear. These tools absolutely need guardrails. Big ones. You cannot just let the AI take the wheel. You have to treat it like a very, very powerful assistant that needs constant supervision. I love this quote because it just hits the nail on the head. This is the perfect mindset. Think of the AI as a junior engineer. They're incredibly fast, they can churn out a ton of code, but they just don't have the experience, the security awareness, or the big picture wisdom of a senior developer. And in the end, that's really what anti-gravity is. It's a preview, a glimpse into a future where developers do a lot less typing and a lot more managing. But it's a future that clearly comes with some major trade-offs in stability, in security, and maybe even in our own ability to think. And that really brings us to the big question, doesn't it? The one we're all going to have to grapple with as these tools get better and better. Are they unlocking our potential, or are we just outsourcing the very thing that makes us valuable in the first place? Finding that balance, that's going to be the challenge for all of us in the years ahead.